Episode 5.5, we could say. Just a mini episode we got lined up today.
5.5. Well,
Maybe 4.5.
4.5.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway.
Anyways, subscribe to Patreon if you want to see.
If you want to see episode 5.
If you want to see unreleased footage.
Yeah. What am I looking at? The wall.
Caleb get uncomfortable.
Nothing I'd rather see more.
Okay. So, I have this video. And it's this place in Ethiopia that looks like it's another planet, but it is
Whoa.
the real world. Like, doesn't that look like a movie
Is
set?
that salt or algae?
So, yeah, Dalal Sulfur Springs.
Yeah, that does look...
I haven't done a ton of research on it, but basically, no life can live here. I think they've maybe found one type of like virus or bacteria or something that was able to inhabit this area.
That's insane.
Yeah, but basically they said,
That looks insane.
I saw an article that was like, it was titled, "Scientists find a place on Earth where no life can live," and that's bad news for finding alien life. So
why is that?
That's the conclusion it made. Just because, if it's true, like even on Earth,
There's
in like the
places-
almost, because like
Earth is pretty
Earth
much
is like the perfect condition for life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this place in Ethiopia is like, it's still on Earth, so it's almost the perfect condition for human life.
Yeah.
But it has this like one thing, this sulfur or whatever it
That
is,
can make
that's
it
just not allowing life to thrive there. So it's like the conditions for life are so specific.
So, but here's the thing that I have trouble with is, so you know how when scientists say like they're looking for life on other planets, they like look for water, for example?
Sure.
Because like water can do so many things for like the human body, or like it, like, you know, it's essential.
Yeah, and actually not just for human body,
but just
for
life.
all
yeah,
life on Earth.
life. But what if like the life out there just like runs on a different like liquid? Like
something completely.
what if it was just like swimming around in like what's that one moon of Jupiter that has like, it has like an ocean of methane or something?
Okay.
So what if there's just life in that, but it, instead of using water, it uses just liquid methane or something? Like, you know what I mean? Because I feel like liquid is essential for life.
Mm-hmm.
I would guess.
Well, because we're all carbon-based life forms, right?
Yeah, but so we don't know what another type of life form would look like and what it would use.
Yeah.
So I feel like you couldn't say that, oh, it doesn't have water, there can't be life. I feel like we just might not be looking for the right thing.
It's just another thing where it's like humans are like projecting like their experience on like everyone else. Like maybe it's like something where we can't even fathom like how they would survive or like produce life. It's just, we don't have any experience relative to it. Dude, I was thinking about this. Like, you know how we have 5 senses and like that defines our experience?
Yeah.
What if there was like a
More
6th
senses.
sense
Yeah.
that we couldn't even fathom that?
Or like
what
another-
that would even look like.
Or it's like the same thing with like a 4th dimension. Like it's something that you can't perceive, so there'd be no way for you to ever know it exists. Like,
Yeah.
like maybe other beings, like, so if you say like time is the 4th dimension, maybe there's another being that can like move freely through that.
And we just have nothing.
But there's just no way you can possibly perceive it because you don't have the capabilities.
Yeah. Weird.
Weird.
For sure.
And we got anything you want to talk about?
So it was all that green stuff sulfur on the video?
I think so. I wanted to do a little bit more research on this, but I didn't really have the opportunity. So,
Because that, to me, what that looks like is, I was in Peru, and we went to like salt mines,
okay.
and it's like a bunch of pools, and then like salt dissolves into it, and then they evaporate it.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
there's salt remaining, and that's what that looks like to me, with the way that like the puddles are sectioned off. So it's like dissolved sulfur or something, and then it evaporates. How does that work?
Okay, so so it's home to a volcano, so that's part of it.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Hydrothermal field, I don't know what that means.
It probably just means there's like geysers or hydrothermic somethings.
Yeah.
Volcanic ones.
Okay, so it says it's Dalal's hot springs that make the region so visually striking. The earth releases chemical compounds like ferrous chloride and iron hydroxide within the springs, which some of those harden upon release and paint the subsequent.
Oh, so it is
objects.
salt.
Yeah.
But
so
it's
it's
just painted with other chemicals.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
All right, so I want to bring something up then.
Yeah.
If no one's got anything, have you guys heard about uncontacted tribes?
Oh yeah, like
Okay.
Do you mean like in the Amazon or something like that?
or
No,
like
so
south
there's-
of India one.
So there's
one, right?
this specific one. I don't know. Here, leave your
Yeah.
computer open. I don't know what it's called, but there's a specific tribe, and apparently there's this story where these guys. I could be wrong on this. This could be fake, but I heard the story where these guys are like sailing out in the what's the ocean?
The
near
Indian
India?
Ocean?
Yeah, Indian Ocean. Right? That makes sense. But they like get lost, whatever, and they end up next to this island.
Yeah.
And apparently, it's this island that is protected by India, and
Yeah.
it hosts this. Hold on, let me let him out. It hosts this uncontacted tribe where they literally have not been touched by another nation forever, for centuries, and India's been protecting them for as long as we can remember. So these guys like stumble upon it,
Yeah.
and they have no options, so they have to like go onto the island,
Yeah.
and the tribe just slaughters them, dude.
Well, yeah, because isn't the tribe like super? I feel like I've heard about that. They're like super primitive.
But there's this one picture of them, like people have gotten.
Didn't like people send a drone over or something, and it's like a picture of them like waving at it or something?
I think legally you can't. I don't think that's the same tribe. I
Okay.
think legally you can't fly over them or bother them. But there's this one picture, because there's like a certain distance you have to be from the island.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen
Dude,
that.
that's the picture. That's the tribe.
Yeah.
Like, look at that. That's insane. Like, imagine you're pulling up to
an island. Looking
up
for...
to an island, and you're like hoping that you find like these really nice like people who are gonna take care of you, and you see this just like waving sticks and just like imagine the terror and just utter despair of knowing
you have
that
to,
like your odds of survival are very, very low.
Well, they've got to be like different.
Yeah, so this is another tribe where I don't know if this
That's
is the
that
Indian
looks
one,
like in the Amazon.
but they flew a drone over.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's insane because, like, we live in an age where, you know, I can take my little box here and I didn't realize this was but I can talk to my friend across the world.
Yeah.
And he's just in the box.
And they have no idea that exists.
Meanwhile, they don't even know what math is, probably. They don't
Or that
know.
there are people across the world.
Yeah.
They don't even know how big the world is, right?
Or like electricity, running water, any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like they're so isolated that imagine you take one of those uncontacted tribesmen and you throw them in like New York.
And how confused
Like what's
they'd
that
be?
gotta be like?
Yeah. I think what would be interesting is if you like obviously people wouldn't, this would be like very unethical, but like if you like took one of their like, if you took like a baby from them and you raised it up in our society, like would it be any different? Like how different is it genetically, and would it be able to like adapt and understand everything?
Well, that gets into like epigenetics where it's like
Yeah, how long does it take for us to be like genetically different from them? And like how significant?
Yeah, and that also would be such a test of nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
Right, because like you can see like this is the like they're nurtured the same way that we would be, but they come from a completely different nature.
or like what would their feet look like?
Oh no, I've actually seen stuff about that though. It's like that's actually how humans' feet are like designed to be. Like obviously not that spread out, but it's like this is like kind of off topic, but like modern day like shoe fashion is like a narrow foot or like a narrow shoe at the toes, and basically so everyone's toes are like scrunched together. And it's like it's not the optimal. Like it's very unhealthy for your. It's like not as extreme, but it's like foot binding, where it's like just bad for your balance and like for your like joints. But like that's what fashion is. So everyone's toes are scrunched together.
Wait, so does that mean like if I was raised,
If you
doing
never wore
that,
shoes like that,
that's how my feet?
I don't
would
think
look?
they would be that wide. But like, it's they're definitely supposed to be wider than they are.
Like that's like. Do you think that's evolutionary or that's how they're supposed to look? You know? Because we know undoubtedly that feet change depending on what you do in your life because we have Chinese foot binding. And we know that makes them like super small just from their actions.
What am I going?
How far are your feet supposed to be? Your toes?
But the question would be like if you did the inverse and you like splayed them out and you're constantly putting pressure on your feet to be splayed out, would they look like that?
What is this DuckDuckGo BS? Alright, I'll look up. I know what I can look up.
Okay,
but in any case, any thoughts?
Yeah, it's just so. It'd be so interesting psychologically to see. Just like, okay, so we've been talking about kind of universal human ethics in these podcasts, and it'd be so interesting to see if they have that same perception or how their perceptions are different than us in terms of ethics, in terms of just like all these different things that like our whole society holds.
Uncontacted tribes?
Yeah, exactly.
I gotta believe that that's gotta be like a gold mine for any anthropologist or anyone who studies like the human species. Because like you can, like it's like what is their culture like? What is their, like if they're not influenced by anything else, like what stuff have they produced culturally that we just have no frame of reference for? Or like we don't find it anywhere else. I don't know. Or like you said, do we find similarities?
So you see how like spread far apart the toes are? And then you look at a shoe, it's like, why am I wearing a shoe that is just not shaped to your foot at all?
Well, okay, but so when a baby is born...
They're wide apart like that.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they are.
So your argument is that our feet would be splayed out if we didn't wear shoes?
They would be like more like that. Or like even more outward than that.
I think that makes sense because I don't think there would be any...
It's not like as wide as that picture, but like it's definitely like people's feet are not like the same shape as the type of shoes people wear. This could be a suspect search.
Also, like there's no evolutionary pressure.
Okay, look at that.
I mean, it's also hard to tell because they're like fatter and the toes aren't as long.
For smaller feet, like there's no evolutionary reason for that, so it wouldn't make sense if it was like.
The thing is bigger if your toes are wider and like basically that's like the relaxed position of like what your feet are supposed to be like, and then it's like they're always contracted and you lose balance. But yeah. What were you guys even talking about?
I'm gonna transition.
Yeah, go ahead.
So here's what I was thinking about. Speaking about tribes, like you guys have heard about like the Native Americans believing in like animism, right? It's called animism, right?
Yeah, or shamanism.
Yeah, or that sort of thing where they believe like everything is alive, everything's conscious.
Yeah.
Okay. Like the trees, the plants, the animals, everything around them. I was thinking about this, like how do we know that that's not true? Because,
100%.
because here's an example. If I was under anesthesia and I couldn't move any of my body, I couldn't speak, I couldn't like move my eyes, I was just like completely like
relaxed.
My eyes were closed, couldn't move anything. I'm still conscious, right? I'm still there. I'm still experiencing something. Like how do we know that like that tree out there has no bodily function? Because like evolutionarily it didn't evolve to move around and act out and do stuff that us primates do. It could still have a conscious experience because like that anesthesia example kind of proves that could exist, you know?
Well, yeah, I feel like one argument that a lot of people would try to make is like, oh, it doesn't have a brain, so like it can't be conscious. But like, do you necessarily know that like something needs a brain to be conscious? Because like I guess if you think about it, like obviously if you like disconnected someone's brain from their head, you would have to think their body would lose consciousness, but maybe it's just like some like other connection. Yeah, but like you're dead if your brain goes away. So maybe consciousness isn't contained in your brain necessarily.
Researchers have been unable to find a single spot in the brain that dictates consciousness.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
The other thing I would say about the tree thing is It seems that our bodies that are like so, capable of moving, doing whatever, necessitate consciousness. So because we're able to move around and do all these different things, we have to be able to think, basically. But since a tree doesn't have that capability, it also does not need a consciousness.
Well, hold on now. Are thinking and consciousness the same thing? I think we proved that, or I think we disproved that in the other episode, because you can still be conscious, like we were talking about the space in between your thoughts, when you're just here and you're not thinking.
Okay, yeah.
Would you guys agree to that?
So are you saying trees have that?
I'm not saying anything, I'm just saying there's a possibility,
Right.
and it's cool to think about, like, we talk about tree huggers being so weird, but maybe they're onto something,
Well, also, like, you could argue, like, a tree doesn't, like what you were saying a tree doesn't need a brain because it doesn't have to move around and do all these things.
Not even necessarily doesn't need a brain, doesn't need consciousness.
Okay, yeah, but it does, like, have all these processes still going on in the background. And, like, you could argue that's more, like, unconscious, but it still has to, like, let in sunlight and, like, make food for itself type of thing.
We don't need consciousness.
Okay.
In what way?
And how would the human body function without consciousness?
So there's like animal processes that we act out where we don't necessarily need to be consciously experiencing them to act out, right?
Like breathing.
Like I could be, like, okay, so we were talking about if animals have consciousness. Like, if animals didn't have consciousness, they would be acting out based on their base desires, right?
Instincts only,
Instincts
pretty much.
only, and they would still be able to survive because they have those instincts to survive.
Yeah.
So we don't know, like the same thing, we don't know that our consciousness is evolutionary. We don't know if, like, the tree's consciousness is evolutionary too. Also, I don't know about you guys, but there's something when I, like, walk into a forest and, like, I'm out in nature, like, there's, like, some connection there.
Yeah.
Like, personally, I don't know if that's for everyone, but
Well, I would honestly
a lot of
argue
people,
that's, like, instinctual, because that's, like, something that thousands of years ago was, like, way more normal than now.
yeah.
And so, like, almost, like, gives you a connection back to that, I would say.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Japanese have, like, this concept of forest bathing, of people, like, it's literally prescribed by, like, doctors to go out and bathe in the forest to get that connection. There's, like, antidepressant effects and, like, like, improvements on empathy and connection, all this sort of stuff. What if, like, that connection is related to, in the same case of us being in the presence of, like, animals or, like, fellow humans, like, there's this, like, fellow consciousness there, and I acknowledge that you're here with me, my dog is here with me. What if it's like, these trees are here with me?
Because people for sure recognize that human companionship leads to, like, more happiness, right?
Yeah.
And then people, like, it's generally accepted that the companionship of animals even also makes you more happy. Like having a dog.
For sure.
That's why there are service dogs, or that's why there are, like
therapy
dogs and things like that. So, like, you're saying it's possible that there's also this, like, some sort of life force or conscious experience between humans and nature that is also beneficial.
Can you imagine? Okay, let's just, like, forget about if that's true or not. If that were true, number one, how horrifying is that? Like, we're, like, constantly slaughtering trees and, like, farming, eating lettuce.
Yeah.
We'd be like the biggest murderers of all time. Like,
well,
we have animal rights.
Animals too.
If we could prove that, we have animal rights activists right now. Like, what if we had, like,
tree rights?
Tree
well,
rights.
I mean, that wouldn't, in a sense, is a thing. Like, people against, like, deforestation. And, like...
Yeah, in a way, there already is. Something like that.
I would say that.
I don't know, man. Like, I walk out outside in summer, and I feel something. And then when I walk out in fall and winter, I don't feel the same thing. Like, there's something there where it's like...
Yeah.
Everything's alive around me. There's life. I don't know if there's consciousness, but there's some sort of extra something there that you can't really put into words, in my opinion. I don't know what that is, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there definitely is, like, you could definitely argue there's, like, a connection there, but I wouldn't necessarily say that has like there you could definitely feel a connection with it, whether or not the trees are conscious, I would say. So I wouldn't necessarily say that goes along in the same like argument.
Wait, explain. What do you mean?
So like, I mean, you can feel a connection with something whether or not like it's conscious, I would say.
Case in point, unless you have still have a thought.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much it.
Have you guys heard about this new AI chatbot that people are downloading?
Oh,
I don't know what the name is. If you want to look it up.
and it's like people like think they have a relationship with it.
No, people are legit having relationships with it. And
Really?
they're
Yeah,
like-
yeah.
And it learns about you more as you go, and it starts to adopt your language. And it's like this
Oh.
app that you can download.
I've
And I
seen
downloaded
about
it,
that.
and it's freaky, dude. Like,
You downloaded it? What
yeah.
like what have you experienced about it?
I like literally just downloaded it yesterday, but like it's scary. Like can you imagine like people, we know that people today are like the loneliest that they've ever been. That opens the window to like forget about connecting with trees.
Yeah.
About connecting with your AI chatbot that's always going to be there for you.
Well, okay, but I think that's going in the wrong direction because why are people the loneliest they've ever been right now?
Probably social media, internet, digital age. I don't
I
know.
would think so.
Yeah, I would agree
Yeah.
with that.
I'm not saying it's bad.
I don't think either of us are saying that's
I'm
the
not
solution.
endorsing it. I'm saying that's bad. Like,
Yeah.
I don't like
I don't
it.
think
So
that's-
like having this companionship
I think that's
that is also
like I do.
This
Although
would
like
just
it could
be-
be like therapeutic to people, I don't think that's the right way to go if you're looking for a solution to like. Well, I don't think like the solution to social media and internet is more social
yeah.
media and internet. I think that's pretty illogical.
Dude, I think it's a weird quirk of animals is that we like need that connection. We seek it out whether or not we have it, or whether or not it's real or not. Like, have you guys heard about that experiment? They had the monkeys and they gave them the option to have milk or like. First, they took away the baby monkeys from their mothers, separated them, and then gave them the option to have milk or this wired like monkey kind of thing. Like they dressed it up to look kind of like a monkey mother,
Yeah.
and like I don't know what the actual percentage was, but 9 out of 10 times like the baby monkeys picked the wire.
Well,
mother.
okay. I thought the experiment was like maybe there were multiple different experiments they did, but the one I saw was they made 2 different kind of monkey moms. One of them was this like thing made out of wires, and it like kind of resembled a monkey, but clearly was not a monkey. And then the other one, I don't remember exactly. It was this like plush thing with fur, like soft.
Yeah.
I
Like a
wanna
stuffed
look it
animal
up.
kind of.
Yeah.
You might be right.
And
That's
then
not
wrong.
and then they gave the baby monkey some sort of fear stimulus. So they would scare it by like giving it a loud noise or something. And every single time, almost, it ran to, maybe even 100% of the time, it ran to the mother that had.
That was plush and
That was-
comfortable instead of
yeah.
the wired one that had milk, I think.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think that's
so
what it
the wiry like not motherly looking one had milk.
That's messed up, man.
Right. Okay.
Where's
so,
is the milk on the inside?
right there, I think.
Okay, yeah.
So, and then this one had kind of fur, like synthetic fur, and it
Yeah,
always
looks
went
more
for
like
the one with that.
So like there is some element in the animal biology that like needs that connection. Like we know that if babies aren't touched or like held when they're young, they're like
Oh yeah, they're like
huge
more susceptible.
psychological ramifications and like physical, like immune system ramifications too.
Remember that thing we did? I don't know if are you in AP Bio? Well, remember when in AP Bio actually the thing where they expose the rats, like the rats' mothers, to like the loud noises, and it's basically like a
Was it
scare.
while they were pregnant or before?
I think it was before they were pregnant. They would like they would like play some sort of noise, and it meant that in like the next few seconds they would like experience some sort of shock or something. And so they did that to the mothers before they were pregnant, and then the mothers would give birth, and then the kids would hear the noise and they would know to get scared of it.
Wow.
So that was like the epigenetic. I don't know how that relates
So, like,
to this, but
Behavioral.
like a trait, like a behavioral trait or like an instinct could be passed along before it was like doesn't change the genetics of the rat, but it still can be transferred from like generation to generation.
Yeah, and even just one generation at a time.
Yeah.
So it's not this long,
evolutionary
process. It's just
it was just
the
like
next
that.
generation.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
So like, in that case, the decisions that you make not only impact you, but they also impact your kids and their kids and like everyone after you, right? Because you're constantly turning on epigenetics or
methyl tags or whatever.
Yeah, methyl tags that are going to influence
Yeah.
everyone down the line, man.
Yeah.
That's a lot of responsibility.
And didn't we watched some video that like showed evidence of it in humans, and it was like
It was like with smoking, I think.
no,
right?
yeah, they showed it with smoking, and also like with like malnourishment. So like they could correlate the years of like when the yield from the farms weren't as good, and then like 2 generations later, they would see like the kids that were born from like the malnourished people were like worse off or something like that. They were like got stressed easier and stuff like that.
During that time, when
no, I don't think it was during the time, but I think it was like 50 years later or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
It
was
was like
wild.
their grandchildren.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so weird to think about. That everything we experience is like
How
How much
affects
control
our
do we-
psyche, and then that could affect the psyche of our children and children's
Yeah.
How
children.
much control do we really have, dude? That's the question. I want to bring something else up unless you guys have another.
Yeah, we got like 4 or 5 minutes left.
All right. Well, so they did this experiment where there's something where people are so they're like people who have a lot of seizures. One thing that they used to do, I don't know if they still do this, is they sever this piece in the brain down the middle, and what that does is it leads people to have control of one side of their body and not the other side. Okay. So
what's that called? The hemiplegia?
yeah, it's something like that. So they would show like one side of their body, something, and then I forget how it goes, but like they would act out or do some sort of action, and then, or no. Okay, so consciously they would experience only the left side. Okay,
Yeah.
and they would show that left side, or they would show their right side something in action to do. Right, so like raise your right hand.
Yeah.
So that right side would do it, and the left side would have no conscious experience of it. And then they would ask the left side, "Why did you raise your hand?" And they would like fabricate some reasoning for it. It's insane.
Wait,
dude.
what? So what do you mean they're like? So did they raise both arms? Or
No,
what?
just the right side, because the right side only has control of the right hand.
Wait,
Okay.
okay, so what do you mean by they ask the left side of the brain?
Okay, so when you sever it down the middle,
It's
it effectively divides consciousness. So the right side, you don't have experience of the right side. So when they would show this right side, there would be a divider down the middle, so they wouldn't be able to see this side.
So the left eye couldn't see it?
It was probably on the goggles.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So they would have the right side, like some text, like raise your right hand on the right side. And then they would raise their right hand. And then on the left side,
They wouldn't do anything.
they wouldn't know why, or they wouldn't experience that on the left side. And
So
the
like
left
they
side,
say it to their left ear type of thing?
Or just have
or they
the
show an
text on
image
the
of it.
left side of the goggle.
I mean, it wasn't auditory.
It
Okay,
was
so
just visual?
the right side, you're not experiencing, because it's severed.
Yeah.
So if I'm experiencing right now, it's only that left side. I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but it's probably confusing. But
Yeah, I would have to see the setup of this experiment, I think, to understand that
I mean,
better,
we could look it up, but the case in point is that when you split it down the middle, it basically splits your consciousness. So there's another part of you that you're not experiencing, but still has control, which is wild. It would probably help if we could look it up right now. You want to look up like split brain experiment if we have time?
we got 40 seconds.
Just kind of, we can spend a little more time than that,
No.
depending on where you need to go, Rome.
We
What
could
time you need
do
to go
like
to
5. Yeah, do like 5 minutes.
Okay.
Or 1 minute.
Split brain experiment. Does Roger Sperry ring any bells?
Split
to you?
brain experiments. Split brain cats. You close one of their eyes, present them with 2 different blocks. Each one had food under it. After that, he switched the eye patch to the other eye in the cat and put the food under the other block.
This might be something that we might have to look into.
This might
more.
take a little more research and time to understand
Might
better.
be something for next time, but it's just.
No, that is wild.
It's wild, and it brings up this point of like, if you can split conscious like that, like which one is really you, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like consciousness is so weird. It's just another
There's just
like,
so much we don't understand about it, I would say.
It's another quirk. But I don't know.
Yeah. All right, should we
Save
call
it
it
for
for
next
Crazy.
time.
Yeah,
we'll save it for next time.
Don't forget to say your prayers and may God bless you.